All right, let's talk about one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, complicated dynamics in human relationships, the love triangle. We see it all the time in movies and books, right? But how it actually works in the real world, well, that's often a completely different story. So today, we're going to explore the hidden geometry behind it all.
You know, in engineering, a triangle is the strongest, most stable shape you can build with. But for the people actually in a love triangle, it feels like the most unstable, chaotic thing in the world. So how can it be both? How can it be super stable and super unstable at the same time? Well, that's the big paradox we're going to unpack.
So to really get the geometry here, we need one key idea, the 180-degree relationship. Just picture a straight line. It's complete, it's balanced, it's a whole connection between two people. But what happens when that relationship has cracks, when it falls short of that full 180 degrees? Well, a space opens up, and that empty space is exactly where a third person gets pulled in to, you guessed it, complete the triangle.
Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. You are doing important work.
Okay, so let's open up our first case file to see how this actually plays out. We're going to start with the classic. This is the one that probably pops into your head when you hear the words love triangle. The classic is pretty straightforward on the surface. You've got an established couple, and then a third person. A real physical person enters the dynamic. And this person starts taking up a whole lot of time, a lot of energy, and a ton of mental real estate for at least one of the partners. So what is this third person really doing here? It's so easy to just label them as a relationship wrecker, but their function is often the complete opposite. They're actually filling a void. Whether it's a need for emotional connection, a desire for more sexual excitement, or bridging some kind of intellectual gap, the third person is basically acting as a support beam. And in a really weird way, their presence can actually stabilize the main relationship by plugging the holes that the couple can't fix on their own. All right, on to our second case file. And this one has a totally different structure. Let's talk about the mythical triangle.
Now, with the mythical triangle, the most important part is what's missing. There is no committed, solid couple at the center of it. Instead, you've just got three people stuck in this romantic limbo. There might be a lot of talk about a future, a lot of what-ifs, but it never actually happens. The whole dynamic is built on what could be, not what is.
So the whole purpose of this triangle is not to stabilize a couple, but to make sure one never actually forms in the first place. The other people in this setup become really convenient excuses to avoid getting serious. Honestly, anything could break this couple apart. A new job offer, an old flame popping back up, because at its core, there was never anything real holding them together to begin with.
And this lays out the difference perfectly, doesn't it? The classic triangle is basically a system designed to preserve a partnership that's already been chosen, using that third person like a crutch. The mythical triangle, on the other hand, is a system designed to avoid choosing a partner at all. One is all about holding on, the other is about never having to grab hold in the first place. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most complex case of all, the triangle you can't always see. Welcome to the virtual triangle.
This kind of triangle isn't built with another actual person. It's built with an idea of a person. It all starts with some unmet need in the relationship. Then one partner starts projecting all their fantasies and desires onto some idealized figure. They build this entire imaginary romance that runs in the background of their real life. And eventually, that fantasy can become way more powerful and satisfying than the actual relationship they're in.
So who is this mystery third person? Well, it could be just about anyone. It might be a real person who's been put on a pedestal, like a best friend or an old flame. It could be a celebrity or a public figure. It could even be a character from a movie or a book. Or it could be someone who doesn't exist at all, completely made up. The point is, this person exists mainly in someone's head, and they're the perfect blank slate for all the feelings that have nowhere else to go.
Okay, so we've looked at the classic, the mythical, and the virtual. And now that we've seen all three, we can finally get to a single, unified diagnosis for what's really going on.
So what's the common thread here? I mean, whether the third person is a real lover, a convenient excuse to stay single, or a total fantasy, what is the one thing that connects all of these situations?
Here it is. This is the most crucial takeaway of all. The third person is never the problem. They are always a symptom of a much deeper issue. So the real question isn't, who is this other person? The real question is, what crack in the original relationship created the space for them to exist in the first place?
And that leads us to the root cause. Every single love triangle, no matter what it looks like on the outside, grows from the same seed: the inability of two people to create genuine, true intimacy with each other. It all boils down to a failure to build a connection that's strong enough and safe enough to meet each other's needs.
And this failure can show up in a lot of different ways, right? It could be a total breakdown in communication. It could be a fear of showing your real emotions. Or maybe it's a painful pattern where every time you try to get closer, it just leads to a fight. When two people can't create that safe emotional space together, one of them will eventually, consciously or not, try to build it somewhere else.
But here's the really important thing to remember. Intimacy isn't some kind of magic that you either have or you don't. It's a skill. It's a set of abilities, things like honest communication and emotional openness. And just like any other skill, it can be learned, it can be practiced, and it can be developed over time.
And that really leaves all of us with one final, essential question to think about. Is your relationship strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet? Because at the end of the day, a healthy bond doesn't need a third leg for support. It's about two people learning how to create that complete 180-degree connection together. Thanks so much for joining me.
Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you want to overcome betrayal, break toxic cycles, take control of your relationship choices, read How to Deal with a Love Triangle. The link is below the video.